Hey guys, Tal here with my first Blender tutorial. We're going to be working with Blender in Substance Painter today to make something very similar to this. This is actually an old render I made, and the bullet we'll be making will not be this exact bullet or this setting, and I think the render will actually look better than this. But I don't want to show you the final product up front, because I think that would ruin the surprise. Alright, we're going to go ahead and start out by creating our background image for reference. So go ahead and click in to bring up the side panel, go down to background images and add image. We're going to go ahead and use this one right here, and of course it is down in the description below so you can download not only the reference images but the scene files as well. And go ahead and go into right orthographic view to pull up our reference images. So I'm going to go ahead and recenter my cursor since it was off center and add in a cylinder. It's going to spawn with 32 vertices, and that's perfectly fine for what we're doing. Now let's go ahead and pick one of these bullets, any bullet you want, and bring it down to the bottom and scale it in as so. We're going to go ahead and select this bottom edge loop here with Alt and right click and extrude it downwards so we can start working on the bottom part of this bullet. So extrude it down, scale it in, and then extrude it to create this. Extrude it one more time, scale it out, try to eyeball it here and make sure it's not extending past this too much. I'm going to try to make it pretty even. That looks good. Then we can extrude it downward again. Then one more time, extrude, scale down, and now we have this. So now what we're going to do is press I to inset, bring in our faces a little bit here, extrude back up, inset again, extrude down, and we're going to go ahead and make sure this right here is set to vertex, so when we move along the z-axis we can hold down left control and put our mouse on that vertex right there, and that way it'll be even with that. So let's go ahead and inset it one more time, pretty far down this time. What we can actually do here so we don't have this ingon is press Alt M and then merge at center. So now we have a lot of triangles here. Okay, so that looks really good. That's the bottom part of the bullet done just like that. So we're almost there for this casing anyways. We haven't started on the bullet, which would be up here. So let's go ahead and select this edge loop here and pull up to about right there where it starts to indent in, extrude, scale down, extrude again, extrude one more time, and then scale in. Perhaps bring that down just a little bit. And then for this, let's go ahead and inset it just a tad to give it some solidity and extrude downwards, just really to maybe right there. It doesn't really matter. Now let's go ahead and add our subdivision surface modifier with a subdivisions of 2 over here, and then smooth shade it over on the T panel. Alright, so now we have this thing that's starting to look like a bullet, but it's too smooth. So let's add in some supporting edge loops to fix some of our geometry and sharpen up some of these edges here. So in edit mode, of course, we're going to press Ctrl R and start adding in these edge loops. And here, go ahead and right click to keep it in place. SZ, scale along the Z axis, sharpen that up a little bit. Let's add some here, some here. And this is all up to you as far as where you want these at. You don't have to have any if you don't want to, but your bullet won't look very good, in my opinion. Alright, so that's looking a whole lot better. So let's go ahead and add one on the inside of this, pull it down, maybe one more even, and then 2 on that. That's looking really good. So we have the bottom part of our bullet done. Let's go up to the top, see what we got going on up here. Let's add one there, one there, one there, one there. Heck, even, why not have one there, just to finish her up. Put a couple supporting edge loops in the center to combat any shading issues that may occur later. So now we have our casing done. We can actually move on to our bullet. So go ahead and press Shift S, cursor to selected, to move our cursor to the center of this object in object mode. Go ahead and create a new cylinder, drag it up here, and scale it down. Now the actual scale of this doesn't really matter. We just want to make sure it looks good for the render. So about there. It doesn't matter if it overlaps at all. we will not notice it for these purposes. All right, let's go ahead and select this edge loop, bring it down, extrude it up, scale it in, extrude up one more time, scale it in even more. Great. We have the bullet. We can apply a subdivision surface modifier to this, kind of clean it up just a little bit. Add smooth shading, of course, and then bring this down. Maybe add a couple supporting edge loops, just in case any shading issues will be there. Of course, we're not worried about poly count. We're not worried about creating optimized topology, because this is purely for a render. We want to get a lot of detail into this, so our render looks as great as it can be. We're not putting this in any animations. We're not putting it in any games, just for the render. So here we go. Our bullet is pretty much done, but first we need to join these two objects together by selecting them and Control-J. And now they are one object. So before we can move this into Substance Painter to apply our textures and materials, we need to go into something called Vertex Paint. So we can go ahead and assign different color values to each part. And this will help a lot with the texturing process. So go into Vertex Paint and make a new palette there, and go ahead and pick any color you want. I'm going to use red, green, and blue. Those are the three I go to. So we're only going to use two for this though. So go to a color, make a new swatch, and then go ahead and click this selection down, or this option down here, face selection masking for painting. And make sure you've selected this object by hovering over it and press L. In edit mode, that should be the only thing selected. Once you have that, you're going to go ahead and press Shift K, and it will assign the red value to that. And now, same thing, press L on this and add the blue color to it. So now we should end up with something a lot like this. All right, now we're ready to go ahead and go into edit mode, select everything, press U, and then Smart UV Project. I'm going to use the default options and go ahead and bring up a UV editor panel over here. Just make sure the UV unwrapping looks something like this. As long as it does, we're good. So now we can go ahead and save this and export it as an FBX file into the folder we're working. I'm going to call mine bullet.fbx. And now we're ready to go into Substance Painter to add the textures and render this bullet. All right, now we're in Substance Painter, and we're going to go ahead and go up to File and New. Don't worry about the template, but on Mesh, make sure to select the FBX file that we exported. I do this in OpenGL and with a 2048 document resolution. So let's go ahead and press OK. You can use the middle mouse button and left alt to move like so, and then left alt and left click to rotate in the 3D view. But that won't be so important for right now. And of course, zooming in is the mouse wheel. Let's go ahead and go over to texture set settings, and then we need to bake our mesh maps. Make sure the output size is 2048, which is matching what we initially chose in the creating the new file process. Specifically, we're really worried about the ID here, but I'm going to go ahead and generate all these maps with just the bake default material mesh maps. All right, so now it's baked all of our maps. You can see over here on the right, and the one we really want is the ID color map. So let's go ahead and come over here and create a couple of folders. I'm going to call mine base, and then bullets. And this is where we're going to house the textures and the materials that we're going to use. So let's go ahead and come down to materials. Brass Pure is the one that I'm going to use for the base. So we're going to go ahead and put that in the base folder. And then right click on base, the folder, and go to add mask with color selection. Come down here to your properties, pick a color. You can click over here or over here in the 3D view, and it'll apply it to the vertex selections in the color ID mask that we made in Blender. And you can see that it's applied everywhere we want it to be and nowhere we don't want it to be. It's awesome. It's made this process so much easier from having to go in and select these and paint them. It is an amazing tool. So now let's go ahead and do that with the bullets. I'm going to use the Copper Pure and come down here to the bullet and add a mask, pick a color, and then pick the red one. So now we have this varying material from the shell, the base, and then the bullet. And you can pick any material you want that looks good to you. You don't have to pick the ones that I've chosen for myself. In fact, I would prefer you to make this bullet your own at this point. Use my tutorial here as a guide and not a set of rules. Make this bullet your own for sure. Alright, so now at this point, we're going to go ahead and see what it looks like in the rendered view and see if there are any changes that we need to make. So let's come up here and click on the rendering array. And we're going to go into this renderer and of course navigate the same way. And to change, first of all, these HDRI environments we have, hold down Shift and then right click and it will rotate the environment around the object. Let's go ahead and come over here into the display settings and we can pick between several preloaded environments that the software offers. We can pick something like this if we wanted to, or we could go to something like this, and really it's just whatever you want. I think certain environments look exponentially better than others, but of course this is where you have the freedom to make your own decisions. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and switch over to our camera settings and turn up the aperture. So we get this sort of depth of field effect. Really it's like the aperture on a camera, so if you're at all familiar with photography, that's all you need to worry about. Go ahead and activate post-processing. Turn on anti-aliasing. Color correction is awesome because you can do this outside of Photoshop. You don't have to bring it anywhere. Maybe turn up the saturation if you want to, or just completely desaturate the image. I'm going to go for a lessly saturated image. Maybe bring up the contrast a little bit. Bring up the brightness. Keep the bias. I'm going to keep that at the default. Again, you can do whatever you want here. This is really where the tutorial ends and the art making begins. But I'm going to go ahead and walk you through my process. The focus distance is probably some of the most finicky tools I've ever dealt with, but you can get it pretty easily if you just sit there and deal with it. To add a vignette to this, I always think that makes it look a little better. Let's desaturate this a little more. It's a little too saturated for my tastes. So doing this, so far, I mean, we have a pretty decent image here. I mean, it looks pretty real. This could be a real photo at this point. Let's go ahead and angle this how we want. Of course, we can also change the FOV of the camera, make it look a little more something like this if we wanted to. So now we would need to change the, where'd that go? Focus distance to right about here. And a good tool for reference is if the ground around your object is in focus, because it's kind of hard to tell here with the way the lighting is working. Let's go ahead and rotate the environment and see what it looks like from this angle. And I don't really like the amount of aperture that we currently have going on, so I'm going to turn that down a little bit and see if that helps it at all. Really don't like what's going on right here. I think it looks bad. So maybe try changing the camera angle. Okay, that looks a little better. From here, I think you get the point. You're just going to play around with the settings and figure out what you like. Try to pose your scene in a way that looks good. Here is my final result, the thing I ended up with after tinkering with it. I really encourage you to show me what you ended up with down in the description below. So I'd like to thank you for watching. This is my first ever Blender tutorial. I'm new to Blender relatively. I am really new to Substance Painter, very new to making tutorials, so please go down in the comment section and tell me what you liked, tell me what you didn't like, but most importantly, show me what you made. Post an imgur link down there or whatever else and show me your creation, because I am very interested to see what you did through this tutorial. So again, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you have a nice day. I'll see you in the next one.